Good evening, everybody. We're going in a couple of minutes, so thank you for your patience. If you're on YouTube, on live stream, I can't see the chat, but you're more than welcome to join us in our live webinar room. Just use the link. So we'll get going in a couple of minutes. Just going to wait for a few more people to come into the room. Thank you. And Praveen, hopefully you can hear me now. I wasn't talking before, so that's all good. So we'll get going in a couple of minutes. So just bear with me for a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's ACY Securities Forex Trading Live Market Analysis webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Thanks very much for your attendance and your patience. So just before we get along, just read through this disclaimer. As we're going through the webinar, if you have any questions, just type them into the Q&A box. I've got the chat box open too, so I've got both things open, but questions in the question box, so it's good. All right, if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at ACY Securities. And I'm a full-time trader, been trading for more than 15 years, mentoring clients for more than 10. If you want to contact me by email, you can get me at duncan.cooper@acy.com. If you want to connect with my analysis, you can find it at the website at acy.com, Market News tab, on the YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia channel. And you can connect with me personally on Twitter and LinkedIn there on those handles. As well, through the week, you can get some of my analysis in the Telegram ACY Securities channel. If you'd like to get access to that, just contact Nathan Bray at acy.com, nathan.bray. I'll put his details in the chat in a moment. So if you'd like to get access to that, just contact him. I'm just putting some analysis in there through the day, looking at pairs, trends, support and resistance, key trading levels that we're watching based around the webinar series. And just on the webinar series, we've got one more webinar coming up this week, tomorrow on trend lines. And that will start at 8 p.m. Next week, webinars start at 7 p.m. We've got a time shift change. Next week, Tuesday and Thursday, we'll be going through pivot points Tuesday and the figure on Thursday. Okay, so that's what's coming up. All right, now, what you'll see with my charts is they're a little bit different than what you can download. So I'll give you a link, or rather, I'll give you Nathan's details, sorry. If you'd like to get access to my charts, then he can help you with that. Just contact him. If you'd like to get access to the Telegram channel too, just contact Nathan. So I'll just put his details in the chat. There we go, his phone number and email address. He'll sort you out. All right. Now, I think just before we get into the charts, just want to, bear with me, look at the news coming out for the week. Here we go. And what's coming out for the day. And at 10:15 p.m., we got the US ADP non-farm employment change numbers coming out. It's the US job figures week this week. And into Thursday, we've got core PCI price index coming out, 10:30 p.m. These are my time, Queensland time. Big on then Friday is got the US unemployment rate coming out Friday evening. So the market might be a little bit quiet, range bound as we're waiting for these items to come out. So I'm at forexfactory.com. you can get all major news releases and the times and the days when they're going to be coming out at that page. All right, so we do have the ADP non-farm employment change numbers coming out tonight, 10:15 p.m. Queensland time. New South Wales will be 11:15 p.m. All right, this is the charts, and I'm going to go through the pairs that I'm watching, and I'm going to go through and give you an idea of the trend and the levels that I'm watching. Some pairs are difficult because of the way they've been very volatile, and we might start just with going through the dollar index, having a look, and potentially go to the monthly chart here. We were above the monthly resistance level, 98.12. It's been acting as support, but at the moment we're pulling back underneath it. Trend is still up though on the monthly, and the trend is still up on the weekly. We've got a higher top, higher top, higher top, higher bottom. But obviously this week we're having some form of sell-off. Maybe we're just going to come back to an old top at 97.44. If we start to see a deeper pullback, then we may well see pairs to the US dollar moving up. But this pullback, I think, the euro dollar is having a rally today, and that constitutes 50% of this index. So that's why it's looking negative. And you'll see that the daily has been rather range bound. So as long as it gets support still at the base of this range, 97.738 is that top, then the dollar index may still hold its trend there. So it's been a bit range bound on the daily through the course of the month, getting support pretty much where it's coming to right now. So doesn't want to get closing below these lows because that's going to be negative, and pairs to the US dollar will definitely be moving up. So bear what you're seeing there in mind when you're looking at currency pairs. S&P 500 daily, we're rolling back up. We're having a month up. Go to the monthly chart, you'll see here having a month up after having 2 negative months. And having weekly rally there, as you can see. And we're coming back up to just short of the 79% level, 46.63. So over the next week, what's the market going to do here? Is it going to turn around, put in a lower top, or has this negativity that we've been seeing in the stock market come to an end? Be interesting to see what does happen over the next month. Do we put in a lower top here for a further decline? So back to the weekly. We have a fraction of a higher bottom, but we don't have a higher top. So I'm still on the fence as to whether we're still negative or not. But what I'm watching is, what does price action do in the area of the 79% fib retracement up here? Start to see negativity in this area, then we could well be putting in a top for the next move down. So just watch that and what that's doing. All right, I want to get into the dollar yen first, and we'll cover the yen pairs with their associated, like the Aussie yen and Aussie dollar, associated pair to the US dollar. Now the dollar yen has been having a meteoric rise this month. So this is the monthly chart, and it's broken above this monthly top, 118.65, challenge this week, traded through 123.74. The next level, if we can continue through there, would be this very major top at 125.85. So I have those levels on. So the trend is clearly up. Weekly trend is clearly up, but we can see this week at the moment, it's rejecting that monthly resistance area. So we may be having a retracement of that trend at the moment. Day chart trend, just having 2 negative days, and that's why the weekly is looking negative. We have 1 day up, then the weekly we're back to positive. So trend on this day chart is still up. It's a question of, though, can it pull back to an area where you'd be happy to start to look for an opportunity for a reversal back to the upside. So that being said, for me, it's miles away. It'd be great if this could pull back to 118.65, old monthly resistance. Can that become support? And if I eyeball this as well, before I put my fib on, I'm pretty sure that the 62 level would coincide very close to that monthly support level now, old resistance. So 118.65 would be a great level to see a pullback to. And then this dominant trend against the yen at the moment Is it a long-term trend, or is this a parabolic move which ends swiftly and we're back? Do we move back to where we came from, which would be down here at the 115 area, 115.50 area, approximate level? So it's going to be interesting. What I'm watching at the moment, then, do we have a pullback to 118.65? Can that become support sometime in the next couple of weeks? Over the course of the next week, maybe we come up to retest 123.74. If that starts to hold, you start to see the 4-hour chart. So we're in a downtrend, but if we do come back up to there, start to hold, consolidate, put in some tops at that level on the 4-hour chart, there might be an opportunity to trade down from there. Maybe the day chart starts putting a lower top to trade down to 118.65. Getting up to 123.74 and above is very high up. I'm not really going to entertain buying up there. To be a buyer for me, you need to get down to 118.65, find a base of support. If we can come up to retest and fail 123.74, I could look for an opportunity to sell. So those are 2 levels I'm watching. All right. All right, I'm going to start left, Aussie yen. In the same vein as the dollar yen, it's having a bit of a sell-off at the moment. So let's just move to the monthly. And it's been moving through monthly tops, 90.29, 90.71. This is a weekly top, this line at 92.68 that we're rejecting. And the next monthly top up further to chart is 97.28. So clear trend, it's been very strong this month. Like the dollar yen, we're rejecting currently at 92.68. Now this might only pull back to these 2 monthly old tops and find support. If it's a parabolic move and then a collapse, it could well come back down to 82.64. That would be a great area to look for opportunities to buy on a setup. The question is, this parabolic move, is it coming to an end, like I was saying on the dollar yen, or is it just a short-term pullback? So watch 90.71, 90.29 monthly old tops for supports. If we do form a lower top on the daily, and if that comes in at 92.68 resistance, then again, look to your 4-hour chart for lower tops to form and an opportunity to trade down. It's very questionable at the moment on these yen pairs. Is the parabolic move just going to end and then we just trade back down to where we came from? Or is this a long-term trend change against the yen weakness for many, many months? We'll have to wait and see. Price is going to have to start to prove what it wants to do. Because often with a parabolic move, it just comes to an end and price just comes back to where it started from. All right, so where we started was a break above 86.24. So if it comes back to there, does it hold there and reinvigorate a trend? So first of all, waiting to see what it can do at 90.71 and 90.29. When you move down the time frames, you're going to see the 4-hour chart has put in a bit of a lower top at the 92.68 weekly resistance and is moving down in a downtrend. But don't forget the weekly days and the monthly charts are up. So be very aware, even though it looks negative when you're looking at maybe a 50-minute chart at the moment, has been very positive. So, and that's on the back of obviously the war. So there's a bit of positivity coming from the war at the moment in terms of a bit of relief from Russia. Is there a bit of an amnesty going on at the moment? Time will tell. But in the face of that, we're seeing a bit of sell-off on the pairs to the yen, a bit of positivity to the pairs to the US dollar. So how long can it last? So levels, if we come up for a retest and fail, we're watching for a sell opportunity down from the 92.68 area. And watch the support levels 90.71 and 90.24 to be support for that pair. Aussie dollar. Now to the daily, I've got all my levels on here. Currently, the level that we're touching, 75.32, is from an old weekly level. Back to the left here. You'll need to go to your weekly chart to find it. I go to my weekly chart. Looks a bit busy here, but it's back here. Sometime last year, March 21. All right. Now, the higher level, 75.55, is a monthly top. This area where we're getting some support on the day chart this week 74.78 is an old weekly top from over here and an old daily resistance level 2. So we're kind of stuck between weekly resistance, 75.32, and weekly support. But notably, this monthly top here, it was just a bit short. I'm just going to take some lines off. I can put these back in. If you go to your monthly chart, you'll see that we are in a downtrend on the monthly still because we haven't broken the lower top. So we may be stopping just short of that to maintain the monthly trend to trade down. Time will tell. All right. So at the moment, you can only trade what you see. Put my lines back in. We're just held between 75.32 weekly resistance and 74.78 weekly support. And then further down the chart, I've got daily support 74.41, 73.67, another level of daily support, and weekly support 73.14. So it is in an uptrend, getting very close to monthly resistance here. Is this where negative today? We had an outside reversal candle Monday. Tuesday, found support. Today, are we putting in a lower top here at the 75.32 level just to change the day chart trend to down? Because maybe it doesn't want to change the monthly trend. It wants to put in another top here on the monthly chart to just trade back down the range. So if we do have a day down tomorrow from today, that's going to start to confirm a lower top. So then I'd have to start to think that price wants to move down. So I bet on the fence, but I'm just looking a fraction bearish as I'm looking at the daily. On the 4 hour, I posted this earlier in our Telegram chat, but there's a bit of negative divergence forming on the MACD here to price action. So that can be the precursor to a change in trend back to the downside. We have just put in a negative candle at 75.32 on the 4 hour. On my 15, excuse me a moment. Fib from Monday's high down to Tuesday's low, just squashing it in so I can get those points in. What you'll see is we have been above the 79% level here, but we've decided that that's just too heavy going up there. So maybe this is where the lower top's forming, playing at 75.32, starting to move back below 79% level. So maybe we're topping out here and we're going to start to trade down for the day. Now, of course, this could come back up to 75.32 for a retest. May not give you that opportunity now. May just come back up. If you're starting to get your bear hat on, from what I'm saying, might come back up to 75.21 for a retest. Or maybe now it's just filling at the 62% level and it's moving down the range. So make your decision about how patient you want to be before you get in. If you want to be a seller, it's already moving below the 62 level. It could come back up to the 79, could come back up to 75.32. So you can just be watching to see levels that you like. This may be wanting to now move through 75 and below. So tomorrow, if that's what happens today, if we trade below 75 today and hold below, close below 7,500 today for a day down tomorrow, we'll look at 7,500 tomorrow to be resistance, a good level to trade down from on a failure. Okay. So we are seeing a bit of weakness there, but that weakness will need to be proved tomorrow. Euro yen, monthly chart here. We've had a massive month down and a massive month up. And we've challenged this week up to this 137.49 monthly resistance level. And got a monthly top here and another monthly top where we've moved above. You'll be able to see those on the weekly here. So this top here, 134.12, 133.47, we move through those monthly tops. So maybe they're going to become support for the market. I've got a weekly top there as well at 133.14 and a daily top here at 131.90. So what we're seeing is on the day chart here, massive move up, 1 or 2 days of a retracement starting to form here. And we're just holding at 137.49. Is this major reversal time, or short pause. So if it's a short pause, we may see a pullback to 134.12. Price forms some support there to move back up to challenge 137.49. So the key levels to watch are, can we pull back to 134.12 for support to move back up to re-challenge 137.49, or do we have a re-challenge at that level 137.49 over the coming couple of days? If we do, we might see a failure there. Could move through, but watch it for a failure because we've already failed once. So to 4-hour chart, you can see late yesterday, we couldn't get back up to 137.49. So we are failing in the area. It's very thin up there for the buyers. So any revisit back up to that area, we could see some consolidation forming along the area. We could see a failure on the day chart. We could see some rejection candles. If we start to see that, that might be starting to tell us that we want to hold at that major monthly top from February 18. All right. So it is possible that we failed there already. We might come up for a retest. Of course, we can move through. For me to be a buyer, what I'd like to see is a price pull back to 134.12. That area starts to hold, and then look for an opportunity to buy on a lower time frame. We'll be watching for, if we don't pull back to that level, we're watching for a further test and failure at 137.49. Okay. At the moment, we've been trading down for the day, coming back up to 136. Now, the 4-hour chart trend is down. All right, we've been moving down to a lower bottom. So maybe this is just a intra move up for our top to bottom. 62% level at the central pivots. There's another minor range that we formed as well. So the market might not be operating to that fib. It might be operating to this fib from that high to low. And the 62 level comes in at the 136. So you can watch that level for possible failure too. So a couple of ways you could be drawing your fib there. All right. Has had a nice trend down today already. Maybe it's wanting to come up to 136 and hold for more downside potential today. But I'd like to see another test of 137.49 and failure would be great. That would be a great area to look for further failure over the course of the next week. All right, moving along to the euro dollar, which has been moving up. So with a little bit of positivity from talks yesterday in the Ukraine situation, yes, this has been moving up. And if you go to the day chart, got my levels drawn in. We're trying to move through at the moment some areas of resistance. Daily resistance at 111.06, weekly resistance at 111.21. Another area of resistance from the daily, 111.37. And really, it's just putting in some buying pressure from the drop up here. So I'll go to my weekly just to show you. We've obviously had a nice move down, and we're having some correction in the short term. So normally the 62 level would be a good correction point, especially if it overlaps with resistance. 112.21, my line on here is an old monthly top. If you go to your monthly chart, you'll find it. So 112.21, very close to the 112.31.62 level. Just moving up, price might not want to work to the fib. It might just want to work to support and resistance. It's heading up towards this old weekly level of support here, 111.86. All right, now, doesn't mean to say it's going to get there. It's just having some positivity at the moment. Yesterday, it didn't want to hold above the weekly low here at 111.21. Traded through, but couldn't hold above it. So just because we're above it, we're at 57, so we're about 36 pips above at the moment. We might not be above it by the end of the day. So for the sellers, it would be great if we don't close above 111.21. So my overall bias is to the downside because of the higher time frame. Now you might be a buyer. You're going, okay, well, this is starting to form higher tops and bottoms on the daily. But this may well just be a short-lived rally. Okay, a bit of short covering with some positive news. Don't forget, In the grand scheme of fundamental analysis, the US are raising their interest rates and the Eurozone isn't. So from an interest rate perspective, it's to the downside for this pair at the moment in terms of the overall trend. So a bit of a relief rally. How long can it last? The 4-hour chart will be showing you here, yes, it's in an uptrend. Just watch the resistance levels for failure, okay? 111.86 weekly resistance, 112.21 monthly resistance. And do we start to move back below these 3 levels of resistance that we're holding yesterday? All right, to the 15, so showing you that price is moving up at the moment. It's already moved quite healthily up. It's almost at today's projected high. So if you were thinking about buying this today, you're probably getting closer to the top of the day at the moment. So I don't know if that's the best idea. You might be wanting to look for a dip if you want to be a buyer. All right, so just bear that in mind. So having a counter trend rally at the moment, day chart is up. I'm just watching levels to hold for a turnaround, okay? And this positivity, because the euro dollar is at least 50% makeup of the dollar index. That's why you're seeing that negativity at the moment on the dollar index, all right? All right, to the pound yen. Like the other yen pairs, it's having 1 or 2 days down. And to the monthly chart, I've only got a few lines on here. Major level of monthly resistance back here in 2008, 163.06. So that would have been the GFC high. We've traded into that. There are some weekly tops in here too, but that's the most noticeable top from the monthly chart, 163.06. Traded a fraction through it. And obviously there you can see we're rejecting at the moment. Now it may only pull back to monthly supports. Got 2 highs here, which I'll get to in a moment. More easily for me to read them on the daily. So we've blown through what is 158.21 monthly resistance up to failing at the moment at 163.06. So same story. This is kind of in the middle of both of those levels. Can we move back down to support? Does that hold to trade back up? Do we trade back up to resistance and hold to trade back down? All right, it's looking at the moment on the yen pairs that we certainly have a short-term top. I'm not sure whether the trend really has finished, even though we've had a parabolic move. We'll just have to wait a few more weeks, wait for the next month to come around and see what that month does. At the moment, in all these yen crosses, the perfect scenario would be to pull back to where it's broken above. That holds as support, gives you an opportunity to trade up on an intraday setup, okay? So just watching 158.21 for support, 163.06 to be resistance if we get a retest. For our chart trend is down, but don't forget where the longer term trends are. Daily, weekly, and monthly trends are all up. So try to trade around support and resistance if you can. That's where you're going to find the major players trading. The major buyers will be coming in at this monthly support. At the moment, because we can see that failure up here at 163.06, I know it went through, but then sellers took control. Sellers are watching 163.06. I'm sure the buyers will be watching 158. What did I say that level was? 158.21. Okay. So the 4-hour is down. Now, it may just continue, and this will be the same story on all these yen crosses, that the downtrend on the 4-hour charts may just continue. And with those downtrends, you just get rallies. So you can watch your 62, 79% levels for failure to continue in the 4-hour downtrends that we're seeing. All right, but just be aware, a 4-hour downtrend at the moment on any of these yen crosses is going against the weekly and day trends. All right, so just bear that in mind. So 79% level, it gets very close to the 162 figure. So I know that's miles away at the moment, but if you're looking for another opportunity to be a seller in this correction phase, then 162, 79% level at 161.85. So that kind of area would be a good area within that 4-hour down structure. All right, so you can monitor where you'd like to be a seller if you want to be a seller on that pair. Ideally, at resistance where we failed up at 163 would be ideal, but I'm not sure we can get there. So I'm just monitoring. I'm not actually trading the yen crosses at the moment because they are highly volatile. The trading ranges for the day are very large. Candle ranges are very large. So I'm just waiting for the volatility to drop out a bit, and also waiting to get a bit of a clearer sign if these parabolic moves that we've been seeing, are they just a parabolic move up and then a complete parabolic move back down, or are we seeing a change in trend for the longer term? I'm just trying to work that out. All right, so the pound dollar, which is a lot clearer, but we are moving up at the moment. Weekly, got a few lines on here. I can take some away. So we're contending with these two levels of weekly support resistance. Sometimes a support, sometimes a resistance. This is actually a monthly low, but it's a weekly low too, 131.68, a weekly low over here, 131.34. And maybe we're moving down to 128.54 longer term. At the moment, it's just a little bit difficult in this area that we're in, but we are this week having a week down after 2 positive weeks, putting in a lower top. Plenty of lower tops and lower bottoms showing you downtrend here on the weekly. All right. To the daily, put my other lines back in. Last week we failed at this daily level of resistance, 132.73. We've been having a week down. Of course, we're having a positive day or two. We were down yesterday, but finished positive on the close. And maybe we're having a day up today. So what I'll be watching, we got a fraction short of it yesterday, is this low area here, monthly resistance, 131.68. Does price come up to that level? Want to hold to further move down. We were a pip or two short yesterday. So the 4-hour is looking a bit mixed. Lower bottom, well, lower top, lower bottom. There's a minor bottom here that could be a higher bottom. So maybe it's just wanting to turn up. You can see yesterday we came into this 4-hour base of support and held. There's that 131.68 monthly resistance level. So for me, high time frame trend is down on the weekly. I know we're going up today, but I'll be watching to see what 131.68 wants to do. Now, yesterday, short of that, we got short about 10 pips approximately. We created a bit of a resistance block here before moving down. So we may just see all these wicky 15-minute candles. We may not get above there, or if we do, it might be short-lived, because clearly yesterday that's where the market wanted to top. So I will be watching. Let's just go from that wicky candle there up. Watch that area for a reversal today. So that's from about 131.54 up to 131.68. Ideally, I'd like to see price touch 131.68 monthly resistance, start to show a reversal. But you can see yesterday we didn't want to get all the way up there. So we're just starting to move into almost where we really struggled yesterday. All right, so watch for possible price failure there. All right, New Zealand yen, lost the yen crosses to your monthly chart. We've been moving above 82.49. 83.90, some other tops here to the left. And this level here is another monthly resistance top over here, 86.40. And so 86.40 is holding the market at the moment. Trend is quite clearly up. Weekly, up. And then we've got the parabolic move. So I'll be watching, like the other yen pairs have been saying, 83.90 could be support for the market to make a base to retrade back up to 86.40. If it moves below that, watch 82.49. All right, that's a more recent top that we've broken through. So any one of those support levels could be where price falls back to form a base. And if we come back up to retest 86.40 and once more reject, then look to your 4-hour chart to see a lower top forming. The 4-hour chart will be showing, well, it was a downtrend, now it's a bit mixed. Possible lower top, higher bottom. So this might not be getting down to support. It may be starting to form some support here in the middle of that range to come up and re-challenge. All right. So be very aware on these yen crosses. I keep saying the monthly, weekly, day trends are all up. They've been parabolic. So maybe we're just having 1 or 2 days correction. It's a lull before we could have another 2 weeks straight up. Who knows? In the face of this environment where we have a war with Ukraine and Russia, which is causing yen weakness. If the slight amnesty that we're having at the moment just fades away, we could well see all these yen crosses moving back up and through the areas where they're holding at the moment. So that's why I'd be more favoring a pullback to an ideal level of support, to look for an opportunity to be a buyer, to trade up with the trend, to retest the resistance areas that they're obviously holding at the moment. Okay. New Zealand dollar. All right, just bear with me. All right, it's the monthly chart. And we've got a lower top formation in play, lower top, lower bottom. We're having a rally. And we're entertaining at the moment the 62% retracement with monthly resistance here at 69.43. And if you wanted to put another top in, but it's very close, there's another monthly top here at 69.69. We're about 4 pips above it. So we're in an area of monthly resistance in the 62% area approximately. Trend is down on the monthly. Is this just a rally to put in another lower top? You can see all the lower tops, lower top, lower bottom, lower top, lower bottom. Are we going to put in another lower top? Weekly trend is up, moving above 68.90. Day trend, another higher bottom possibly forming. I'm not sure whether there was a minor double top here. We came up, held, had an outside candle. So I'm just on the sidelines waiting to see what price wants to do in this area here. I know at the 62 area, and it is in an area where the market could fail. The Aussie, this pair and the Aussie dollar are highly correlated. They kind of move very friendly together. So if the Aussie doesn't want to move above its monthly resistance at 75.55 and wants to put in a kind of a lower top too on the daily, we may well see this pair putting in a lower top too. So it's kind of put a very minor double top, another higher bottom. Is this just getting ready to maybe want to fail here? Time will tell. Where it is, I'm not really that happy to be a buyer because I know the monthly trend's down, and this is just getting into the area where it could put in finish its upward move and put in a lower top on the monthly. So it's not in an area where I want to be a buyer. Of course, it can keep moving up. You'll need to decide for yourself if you think, well, this is just going to go all the way up to the top. If that's your frame of mind and your trading framework, great. I just think the monthly trend rules everything. Are we putting in a lower top? So on the 4-hour, what I did see, I was going to say there's some divergence, but there's not quite divergence there. But we had a bit of consolidation here, a very minor double top on the daily. And the question in my mind is this just a lateral rally before it gives up the ghost and puts in that lower top on the monthly? Time will tell. So it's just challenging some tops here. There's more tops up there. So quite clear there's been a bit of a battle between the buyers and the sellers on the 4-hour chart in this area there. I'm just highlighting the range of where the tops are. And we've just moved into that area. All right. Into a 4-hour resistance area. And I could draw a fib across the range of the whole thing. We're going to be fractionally above the 79, but intraday today, if we start to move out of that orange area below the 79, like we've been seeing on the Aussie, moved above the 79 to resistance, moving below it. We start to see similar price action, then we could be maybe putting in the little first lower top on the day chart. All right, so I'm just on my hands. I don't want to sell it until I've got a clear idea that the day is changing. And I don't like it where it is to be a buyer. So I'm just monitoring that area at the moment. All right. So I'll just leave that for our picture. I know it's been going up very strongly, but often what will happen is in the last phase of price action before it turns, you'll often get very strong moves like this back to where it has some consolidation before it wants to move back down. So you don't just have to jump in. You can wait for our chart to start to look weak, show a bit of a reversal there before you decide, okay, yes, I like the look of a reversal there. You could wait until you start to move back below 69.43 monthly resistance as well. You can wait for any clarity you need for this to be a reversal. And maybe you don't think it's going to be a reversal because the day chart trend is up at the moment. So I'm just on my hands. I know on the monthly chart, we're at the 62% retracement area. It's just an area where we could get a top to form. So I'm not going to be a buyer in that area. All right, so those are the pairs that I'm monitoring at the moment. Now, I just want to go back to see what the euro dollar is doing. So I'm watching these areas of resistance that we're trying to trade through today from 1106 up to 1137. Put that on the 4-hour chart. Be interesting to see where price is in relation to those levels by the end of the day. Yesterday, we traded into that area all the way up to the top level, 130, 137 there, and then couldn't close above. So it'll be interesting to see if we can see a failure back. You know, if we start trading back below 111.37 today intraday, that could happen. We're only 13 pips away from that level. If we start to move back below that level, you might start to see a reversal down from that level. Got a message coming in. So Edwin, you're saying, can we wait for a break and retest of trend line for both EU, euro dollar, and pound dollar? So I'm not quite sure where your trend lines are drawn for a retest. What time frame are you looking at for your trend lines? Are you talking on the 15-minute chart? Or what time frame are you looking at? 1 hour. All right, so 1 hour on the euro, you could have a trend line coming up through like so. Is that what you're talking about? Yep, so what you could do, I think what you're saying is you wait for a break and then hopefully you get a retest, some form of retest to the backside of it before then selling down. Yep, you could do that for sure. And on the pound dollar, see the pound dollar 15-minute chart rejecting that area I was talking about. So on the 1 hour chart, let's just go to the 1 hour chart, trend line, something like so. So yeah, you could wait for a break of that. It's not as acute as the one on the euro dollar. So you could wait for a break of that, clear break, come back up for a retest. Yep, and then trade the failure there. Yep, that's more than possible. The only problem with waiting for the retest is might break the trend line and not give you a retest. That's the only problem with that approach. But there's a problem with every approach in terms of what you're looking for. You have a framework for what you might want to look for an entry. And it could be waiting for a trend line break and then a retest. You get the break, but never get a retest. Same with, for example, as I was just saying here on the euro dollar, what you could wait for here, if we are, as I was saying, we may move back below 1137. You could wait for a retest of that. So it breaks below 1137. You wait for a retest for that to become resistance, and it never gives you a retest. All right, so when you're waiting for retests, it's great if you get the retest, so you can trade down from it as a level of resistance, but sometimes you don't get your retest, but that's okay, that's just trading. All right, so for me personally, the euro dollar, I'd just be waiting for, you know, do we start to move back below 1137? So intraday at the moment, does it become support to move off, or do we move below and it becomes resistance to move down? All right, a couple of ways you can look at price action. Whatever works for you is what you need to do. All right, so let's go back to that pound dollar. So obviously that area, the area that I drew in, and just because I talked about this area before, let's go to that ultimate level out of the way, is there's a bit of a square area here, and depending on where your knowledge is coming from in terms of trading, I'm just going to draw a little square area in here. When you get those square areas like so, you might see on forums or other pages on the web where people are posting trading information. They can talk about what we call order blocks. So there's a bit of an order block there that was formed yesterday, and often what you get is a bit of a square area before it drops. And so what we're obviously doing here today is retesting the top of that order block. So that top of that order block would be where the sellers were yesterday, holding price action actually below the monthly resistance level. So when you see those blocks, and if I go back in time a bit, there was another bit of a, it's not a perfect order block like this is quite a nice one, but look left, we had a very similar kind of scenario. A square, you know, quite a square area of orders, and a consolidation block before we moved below. So really yesterday we just came back to the same block, and buyers and sellers were trading orders for a break south 2 days in a row from the same area. All right, so what will happen today? You can watch and see. Maybe we get the same order block form before we move south again. All right, everybody, any final thing you want to ask me? What we might do in the last 5 minutes, we can then go and have a look at gold. So let's have a look at what I've been watching in gold. This is the weekly chart, is that we've moved above 119.16 weekly resistance, and the market has actually been sitting on top of that area, trading a little bit underneath, but pretty much trading on top of it. So it's been coming a little bit underneath, but you can see on the weekly chart it can't close below it. We've been last week held at this weekly resistance 119.59, and a couple of weeks back we failed up here at the all-time high 2074. So on the daily chart we've tried to hold to an uptrend. Yesterday we spiked below that weekly resistance. That puts the daily chart down, but it was a spike and rejection. So maybe gold at the moment may just stay in this area of consolidation, waiting for some more news from the Russia-Ukraine situation before deciding which way it wants to move. All right, maybe traders are accumulating orders here for the next move up. We will see. At the moment, though, it is stuck between weekly support 1916 and 1959. All right, for our chart. Maybe that last 4-hour candle, or sorry, not the last one, but the current one we're in, it's just coming down to touch that weekly level. Look left, there was support here on that line. Support. 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 All right, so when you're dealing with support, price can go through it for a very short time and then come back up. Doesn't mean say support's broken. This was obviously a false break, and really what it was doing was coming down to test that low there. But right now, that 4-hour chart look, just kind of got a sniff about it that maybe 119.16 is being support for that little 4-hour candle. You can watch to see what happens, but if you like to trade gold, I'll drop it down to the 15. This could be where, say, intraday, early in the day, we were holding there, moved up. We actually, this time on a pullback, couldn't get down to that level, so the buyers are coming in a little bit earlier. Is this an intraday low point for a move up today after that false break yesterday? All right, so if you like to trade gold, you can make a decision about that yourselves. All right, I'll just leave that there on the 4-hour chart. Looks like 119.16 is obviously a critical level for the buyers and the sellers, or certainly for the buyers to defend to get this moving back up the range. All right, everybody, any final questions? While I'm waiting, I'm just going to skip through and just see what's happening intraday. Aussie yen's obviously been negative today, intraday. Aussie dollar doesn't like it up into the higher reaches that range. Euro yen, as I was saying, 62, 136.100 level is seeing a bit of selling pressure there. You can make your mind up as you think you might want to trade intraday down from there. But seeing a little bit of pressure there. Obviously, if the euro dollar is starting to move down, then that could be where that's failing. Euro dollar is just looking fractionally negative there at the moment intraday. Probably what we've seen here is a few weak sellers thinking, oh my God, this is going up. I need to get out of my short positions, take some profits, and that means they're buying. And then when those weak sellers have finished their panic, nobody really wants to buy. So when I say a weak seller, somebody's in a profitable trade, for example, but they're losing profits, or they've sold a little bit lower down and they're in a loss and they're concerned that it might come a bigger loss, so they're just weak shorts. So they clear their positions, so they have to buy and price moves up. So it could be a few weak shorts, just clearing some positions that they're concerned about. And once that buying pressure finishes, there is no real buying pressure left for the pair, because overall this is in a downtrend. So time will tell whether this is just a very short-term relief rally that we're seeing. Moving back below 111.37 would be ideal. Pound yen still looking rather weak there. These little areas of support that could be now becoming resistance here. Pound dollar, as we've just been saying, looking a little bit reversal-like when it got up to that one, very close to the 131.60 area. Big consolidation New Zealand yen and the New Zealand dollar. You can start to watch that over the next 24 hours. Does it start to put in a reversal at that area up there? All right, everybody. No questions are coming in. Thanks very much for attendance this evening. If you're on YouTube, I can't see the chat, but thanks very much for attending. And if anybody wants to join us in the webinars, simply head over to the webinar page where that's tonight's webinar. But tomorrow we're doing trend lines. And I'm going to show you how I use trend lines and how I use them for trade setups. And I'll be incorporating within a trade setup or two further into the webinar series. So that's coming tomorrow at 8 p.m. Next week, it's worth noting time change starting at 7. We're having a daylight saving change in New South Wales. Next Tuesday, pivot points. Next Wednesday, live market analysis. Next Thursday, we'll go through the figure. All right, so just be aware of that time change, or if you don't make a note of it, then you'll be starting when I'm finishing. All right. And well, you won't be starting because I'll be finishing. So come in an hour earlier next week so you can join me at the start. All right, everybody, we have one more webinar left for the week. That is tomorrow, trend lines. So if you've got the time, look forward to seeing you then. Before then, thanks very much for attending. Stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.